Good morning. Hey, this morning for Sunday school, we're going to be going through Mark 3:13 through 21. It's where Jesus lists his disciples, his 12 disciples. And I think growing up, I always assumed that they were 12 guys that got along and were like the best friends. But it is interesting to look at it when you look at the list of 12 he goes through and then look into their backgrounds. How diverse of a community that actually was. They argued, they had real different backgrounds. It was almost like Jesus was intentional about picking people from diverse backgrounds that were going to disagree and we're going to have different opinions. So, just some commentary real quick on the disciples before I ask you to jump into the questions. So Simon Peter, his name was Simon. Jesus changed his name to Peter. He was brothers with Andrew, and they were fishermen. Peter's a really strong personality. He's known to jump in head first. They're really opinionated. James and John are also brothers, and they're fishermen. And if we look into context, especially in Matthew, according to scholars, I just read this. If we look at like their fishing routes and like where they fish, we can assume that James and John were rival fishermen with Peter and Andrew, which is crazy that they would be rivals and disciples. Also, James and John are called the Sons of Thunder, which is a sweet name for an all-male roller derby team. Also a sweet name for two fishermen who turn into disciples. Matthew was a tax collector. If we know anything about tax collectors, especially from the story of Zacchaeus, nobody liked them. Let's see, Judas Iscariot, he was a disciple. That didn't go great in the end. Even in this verse, it says he's the one who's going to betray Jesus. So we know that coming in. Thomas, you might have heard the term Doubting Thomas. Thomas was a disciple. Doubting Thomas is because when Jesus came back from the dead, Thomas refused to believe it. He was the only disciple that refused to believe it until he actually saw Jesus. So yeah, there's a lot of diversity in this crowd. So I want to jump into these questions. First, read through Mark 3:13 through 21, and then we'll jump in to questions. And by we, I mean you and your parents, or you and me via the phone or FaceTime, or whoever you got at your disposal to discuss these questions with. So the questions are attached.